1, 2, 3, 4.
Screen time, screen time, screen time, screen time.
It's my screen time too.
Screen time, screen time, screen time.
Hello, and welcome to It's My Screen Time Too, the podcast where we review the programming the other critics ignore, stuff made for kids. Find out what to watch for family movie night, what to avoid altogether, and what you'll want to watch alone voluntarily. I'm Deborah.
And I'm Katie.
And I have 3 kids ages 14, 11, and 11.
And I have 2 kids ages 5 and 8. Today, we are reviewing Dora on Paramount Plus. Why are we reviewing Dora, you ask? Well, it's a reboot of a long-running television show from years ago, and they have been a major part of the kids' TV landscape ever since our kids were born. Some are definitely better than others, but given what a hot property Dora once was, we knew we couldn't let this one pass us by without checking it out. Brief description of the show. As I said, it's a reboot of the classic preschool series from Nick Jr., Dora the Explorer, which was a staple from 2000 to 2019, which frankly, I was shocked at. I didn't realize it had gone that long.
It's a long-running show.
It barely feels like a reboot to come back 5 years later. You could have just gotten up for a sandwich.
Yeah.
So the new version premiered on April 12th on Paramount Plus. Episodes are your standard preschool story length, coming in at about 11 minutes, in the way that if you were watching this on linear television, it would be in your standard 2-story block to make up a 30-minute television show. But because this is on a streaming platform, they put the stories out one by one. So each episode is really only 11 or so minutes long. It's rated TV-Y for children ages 2 to 6. And Paramount Plus had this little summary for us. The adventures of the world's greatest little kid explorer continue with Dora. Our beloved bilingual Latina heroine is back and cooler than ever. With courage and confidence, Dora is ready to take on bigger than ever challenges, overcome obstacles, and help friends old and new, all while facing the rainforest's sneakiest fox, Swiper. For our review today, we watched 4 of the episodes on Paramount Plus. We watched episode 1, Catch the Quickatoo, episode 4, Boots' Rubber Band Ball, episode 10, Swiper's Birthday Surprise, and episode 15, Tiny Dancer.
Katie, did you like it?
No.
Oh, no.
I mean, I think maybe it's because my sister just asked me for good preschool show recommendations, and I was able to come up with so many that I liked more than this one in less than 5 seconds. I don't know. What about you?
I liked it just fine. It made me wonder why Dora ever ended.
Yeah.
Because this seemed very similar. It seemed to pick up right where she left off. Not that I was an avid Dora watcher between the years of 2000 and 2019.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're getting into this because I wanted to just revisit what your history was with Dora. Was this a hit with any of your kids when they were in the preschool age range?
So I remember Tony watching a little bit of it, but there were other shows that he was way more into. And Dora wasn't very popular when my twins were preschool age, and they were super into Paw Patrol and Lion Guard. So I didn't really watch Dora a lot. And I feel like I'm so old that now new parents probably grew up on Dora themselves as children. Whereas in the year 2000, I was like in college and Dora wasn't on my radar at all. There was a really funny McSweeney's piece published, like, I feel like in the mid-aughts about how strange Dora's backpack was and how the dad was like scared of it. And I will find that so that we can link to it in our show notes. Like, that is my primary memory of Dora. How about you? Did you watch it? Did your kids watch it?
No, Dora was not on our radar at all. Again, I think because similar to your twins, Dora was kind of past her prime by the time my kids were born. Sorry, Dora. So I really only experienced Dora through these freebie books that came in Chick-fil-A Happy Meals or whatever the Chick-fil-A equivalent of a Happy Meal is. So we read quite a few Dora books, and my kids had this very annoying You remember in the days before smartphones, there was this whole category of books that was like a children's book, and on the side you would have buttons with pictures on it, and then when you got to that point in the book, you were supposed to push the button and it would make some sound that corresponded with the picture.
Yes.
So we had a book, a Dora book like that both of my kids loved at various times, and I do not know why I didn't throw this one out after Jay outgrew it, so Kenny could not find it, but he did. And man, I grew to hate that book.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, there is my Dora experience in a nutshell.
And we should say we're not including our deep, deep, passionate love.
Abiding
for
love.
the movie Dora and the Lost City of Gold. I don't really count that in the show universe because that is something that listeners, you should watch it. It's so funny. It's so good. You don't even need your kids to be around to enjoy it.
Yeah, its own special little gem of perfection.
So why isn't this for you or for grown-ups in general?
You're going to laugh when I say this because we're talking about a preschool show, but I just felt like the stories were really thin, even for a preschool show. This may have been because I did not start with the first episode about the Quickatoo, which was all about Dora trying to capture the picture of this bird that her abuela had always wanted to find. So she was trying to take this picture for her abuela. Nice, sweet story. I started with Boots's rubber band ball, and I swear nothing happened in that episode. And I just thought to myself, wow, this is really a show about nothing with characters that I have no emotional attachment to, and I just couldn't find anything for me to grab onto. I also fully did not realize that Dora lived in a magical rainforest. Has she always lived in a magical rainforest?
I thought so.
Okay, that's fair, but I thought for some reason that we would at least be like learning about the rainforest. So I was thrown off and displeased by the fact that all of a sudden there were giant cookie boulders rolling down the mountain.
I think she always goes looking for something and then her imaginary friends Map and Backpack help her out, and then the monkey too.
Well, we'll get into Map a little bit more, but why don't you tell me why you think this isn't for grown-ups?
I would actually rather skip ahead to why is this for grown-ups,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any major complaints about this.
Wow, okay, do it. Why is this for grown-ups?
Okay, so I'm of like two minds of this. Okay, one, there's a loneliness epidemic, and Dora addresses the fourth wall. She looks straight into the eyes of the viewer of the TV and asks you, the viewer, to tell her things. And so I think adults could watch this and feel fine about talking with Dora, and maybe that would cure their loneliness just a little bit. And it's totally harmless. It's not gonna try to get you to cheat on your spouse with it like Sydney, ChatGPT's alter ego. And I think it could be like a little segment of your day where you get like a little bit of a social fix. It's better than talking to your phone, because like remember talking to a screen used to be like novel.
Yes.
And now kids, they grow up with Siri, they grow up with Alexa, they're used to talking to devices. One of my pet peeves is like when grown-ups talk to their phones. Like it bothers me because it's so like the dystopian future is now. But it doesn't bother me to talk to like a little girl on a screen in a preschool show like it does when people are like yelling at their GPS.
Gotcha. Do you think, and this is straying into whether this is good for kids or not, but I'm just curious since you mentioned it, do you think that there's mileage still to be had in the kind of one-sided interaction between the viewer and Dora in this day and age when we can get so much more feedback from our various other devices?
No, it doesn't seem like a kid would truly be into it because they can interact with so many other devices in like a much more comprehensive way.
Yeah, that's my worry as well.
Yeah. So do you want to get into the weeds more?
Yes, let's do it.
Were there any cast standouts for you or any characters that you really enjoyed?
All right, so we need to talk about Map, right? Because Map has gotten a serious glow up. Map is no longer a map. Map is a smartphone that is somehow flexible enough to be rolled up and put into Dora's backpack. Mm-hmm. So how did you feel about that major departure?
I guess not having had a huge background with the original, it didn't bother me. It seemed fine-ish. It does feel like we're losing something a little bit imagination-wise if it becomes a device.
Agreed.
And not a truly inanimate object that is come to life with the imagination of a little kid.
I had this thought as the episode started, and you're introduced to Dora and you see a map, and the thought went through my head, I wonder if kids are even going to relate to what a map even is, what this like rolled up piece of paper even is. And then mere seconds later, map unrolled and was actually a smartphone camera.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like the swiper villain character. Swiper, no swiping.
Swiper, no swiping. I actually occasionally just use that phrase and I get a little chuckle to myself, like in my everyday life.
I mean, I know that Dora's whole shtick is that she's like in the jungle exploring by herself with these imaginary friends. But I kind of wanted more of the grandma. I liked the grandma. She was very cool and chill.
Yeah, I wanted more of her whole family. First of all, is it canonical that Dora has 2 toddler siblings, or was that just inserted in?
Well, based on the movie, I thought she was just an only child, but
right.
I never watched enough of the original show to know.
That is obviously the reference point I was reaching for as well.
What did you think about the writing?
Again, it was thin to me. How about you?
I thought at times it was pretty sophisticated. It made the distinction in I don't remember which episode, between the 2 meanings of attached. Like emotionally attached and physically attached. And I was like, wow, this is like quite a bit of nuance for a show aimed at ages 2 to 6.
I also would be interested to find out more about the impact of watching Dora on like language learning, because that was its whole thing, like introducing a more bilingual format. And I was curious who that is for. Like, is the idea that the viewer is going to pick up some useful Spanish from watching this, or is the idea that a kid who is growing up surrounded by English and Spanish would feel more seen in an environment like this?
Oh gosh, I feel like I could go either way. It's probably 50-50.
I definitely would say like the utility of and the effectiveness of the Spanish teaching in these 4 episodes that we watched wasn't necessarily there for me. I think especially in the last episode, it was like a long phrase that was really rushed and they didn't go over it again and again. So I wondered if they were moving away from the more educational language learning aspect.
Yes, I think the original was more groundbreaking. There probably weren't too many bilingual shows. I'm just guessing here. I'm not speaking from any kind of like research or authority position. And now you can probably get all kinds of shows in all kinds of different languages on all the streamers. So it's maybe not as novel anymore.
Ooh, I was listening, and I will have to dig to find this episode of this other podcast if I can, but it was an interview with someone who worked in the AI space and was saying that a really fast growing element in AI is for dubbing. So now, in addition to having convincing dubbed dialogue with AI, they're also able to do something with like the pixels, so the mouths look like they're moving in whatever language you're watching it in.
Get out of here, because that brings me to my point about the music, which we're going to talk about next. And I thought it was really poorly timed with the lip movements of the characters and when they were supposed to be singing.
Which is so bizarre because you can tell they made, and listeners, we haven't gotten into the whole general look of it yet, but the mouths move so much more precisely in general because it's a CGI show as opposed to a traditional 2D animated show. Animated? That's a pronunciation
animated.
Of that word. That's real. People say that. I'm going with it. So it seems like that had to be intentional on some level to give their mouths that much more mobility, and then to have it not follow through in the music was very bizarre.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts on the music?
Just that I thought the songs were plenty catchy.
What did you think of the structure?
I liked that Paramount Plus felt free to break out of the bonds of the 2-story classic preschool structure and just be like, we're just going to give you these one at a time. And that's fine. I like it.
They must not have had any interstitials to
Yeah,
play in between.
that's true.
Which I loved because like they were all like 10 or 11 minutes. To me, that's like the greatest length for a little show for like a little carrot reward for a preschooler.
Yes, 100%. As you may remember, that is what we did with my oldest for the longest time. We called it a halvesy at the end of the night before bed. Now it's no longer a halvesy, it's just an episode, but that's fine. It was really the perfect length.
Totally. That would be the ultimate bribe I would have given to my kids. Like, when we need to leave the park, you can watch a Dora when we get home.
Uh-huh.
And that would be like just the right amount of time to like put the stroller away and rinse out the snack cups and stuff.
And they're smart enough to know when it is a 2-episode show. Like, you're never quick enough to turn it off before like the title of the next segment starts.
Oh,
then
right,
they know
right,
they're
right.
being cheated.
Right, exactly. So well done, Paramount Plus. Do you have thoughts on the look of the show?
Yeah, well, I'm also interested to get your perspective on the switch from traditional 2D animated content to a more CGI look. Do you feel like that was necessary or that it adds anything? I almost felt like maybe there was some Miss Rachel influence there in trying to give more articulation to the mouths as they were speaking. I don't know if I was reading too far into it or not.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Everything looked like a little bit more bubble drawing to me, for lack of a better word. And it made me, I have like 0.5% emotional attachment to the old Dora, but I was like, I don't think this is better.
Yeah, agreed. I'm not sure it's adding anything.
Yeah. On the plus side, it's like bright, it's cute scenery, the backpack and map come to life in weird ways. Like, I thought it was a success overall. I just can't be convinced that it's an improvement over the original.
We didn't see too many human characters other than Dora, but they definitely gave Abuela a makeover. She's a lot hipper now. Granted, I only know her from those Chick-fil-A books, but I think I'm pretty familiar with what she used to wear. And now she is like an active senior. She gets out. She probably plays pickleball. Like, she's really living her best life. So we talked about this a little bit over the course of our conversation, but do you have any thoughts on what makes this okay or good for kids?
I like the bilingual aspect. I think it's a pretty gentle show. I like that the conflicts are resolved in a preschool show way where they're like kind of teaching something, but it didn't hit me over the head as like moralistic.
Also, as you were saying, the pause and the direct interaction with the screen encourages interactivity. And if we're talking about like the different types of screen time being like different kinds of good or bad for you, the more interactivity you can encourage with your kids when you're consuming screen time, the better, right? What do you think makes this inappropriate or otherwise bad for kids?
I can't really think of anything that makes it a bad or inappropriate. I mean, it's geared for ages 2 to 6, so like older kids might not want to watch it.
Yeah, can I just like list off some of the better preschool shows that immediately came to mind?
Yes.
Some of which we reviewed, some of which we have not. But I, of course, thought of our beloved Puffin Rock, which is available on Netflix. And listeners, if you haven't watched it, I can't recommend it more highly. I thought about the new Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock, which was kind of a short-lived reboot of Fraggle Rock. That was really fun on Apple TV. Also on Apple, the new Snoopy show is really fun too and could work. I don't know about like the half-hour specials like the Merced, but just the regular Snoopy show could work for preschool kids. And I really thought fondly of that show Creature Cases or its cousin Octonauts. Maybe it's because I wanted a more overtly educational aspect to Dora.
Nice. Those are all good.
And then
good
the
ideas.
obvious comparison, even though we haven't reviewed it, is the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, right? I don't know why I found it more palatable than this.
I would rather watch Dora because then I wouldn't get that Clubhouse song stuck in my head.
I love the Clubhouse song. Maybe it's because I'm a They Might Be Giants person. That's what
What adult movie or show does this compare to?
Well, we have to say again, Dora and the Lost City of Gold, technically not for grown-ups, but an obvious comparison and a great movie. But the real show for grown-ups that it made me think of was the charming reboot of One Day at a Time. Did you watch that?
I don't know.
Now I don't even remember what streaming service it was on. I think it was Netflix. And this family is a Cuban-American family, so it's not a one-to-one comparison, obviously, but it was a really fun sitcom. And now that I'm talking about it more, maybe your kids would like to check it out.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's a good one. Check it out. All right. What adult movie or TV show did you compare it to?
It made me think of Lupin.
Oh, I haven't watched it.
Ooh, it's good. I mean, partly because we watched that listening to the French, reading the subtitles. And I was like, wow, maybe I'll pick up some French words. I totally didn't. But and it's also like the main character goes on all of these just unbelievable adventures, heist adventures. And Dora's always going on a unbelievable little quest in her backyard.
Yeah, what if Dora went over to the dark side and like started working with Swiper and then she had her own crime series?
Oh my gosh, she could totally get away with it if she had a good poker face.
Well, not with that extremely articulate mouth now. She needs to go back to 2D Dora.
Were you able to cast the gritty HBO reboot?
Well, we all know after watching 3 seasons of the Umbrella Academy that we can do a convincing CGI chimp. So I think we have that covered. I couldn't get the Lost City of Gold out of my head. Like, Isabela Merced made a great Dora. The only casting thing I found myself noodling over as I was watching is that it would be fun to have Rita Moreno as the dancing music box doll in the last Tiny Dancer segment.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not great. Who did you cast?
See, if we were doing like a grown-up Dora, fully adult Dora, I would cast America Ferrera. She's kind of Dora-ish. She's like so wholesome and so like warm. And if she were talking directly to the camera and like addressing the fourth wall, like I could totally have like a conversation with her, I feel like.
I think this slots really great into our Dora heist concept. America Ferrera as Dora, she's doing the crime, but she's still breaking the fourth wall to talk to you, kind of like Fleabag style. I like this a lot.
Yeah. Was it better when we were kids?
I mean, the original Dora is not from when we were kids, and we didn't have bilingual content, so I guess in that sense, no. But I think I'm still going to come down firmly on the side of the original Dora.
Yeah. I mean, we might have listeners who are like Gen Z because they could totally have preschoolers right now. And for them, I think it probably was better when they were kids. I don't know. It wasn't better when we were kids, though.
Yeah,
Would
old.
you ever watch one of these halvesies alone voluntarily?
No, I would not. Would you?
I would not, but if I had my niece over who just turned 4, I think it'd be like totally perfect to get her to do something and use it as a reward.
If anyone could do like a quick supercut of like all the new fashions of the grown-up characters, I would just really like to see like how they changed, say, Dora's parents.
Ratings?
2. How about you?
Ooh, 4.
Ah, good old classic Katie Deborah disagreement. Now I feel like we're on regular footing. I say 2, watch the original. 4.
It did make me want to watch the movie. See it or skip it?
Skip it.
Oh, see it.
Yes, we're getting the old odd couple energy back. I was really worried that we were agreeing too much recently. Thank you for listening to our review of Dora. Next week, we'll be back with a conversation about screen time in the news. If you enjoyed our show today, please recommend it to one friend you think would enjoy it too. We love growing our community of parents for sanity and screen time. Want more words about screen time? Subscribe to our newsletter at myscreentime2.com. Tune in next time for more real talk about the movies and TV we watch with our kids because we have to, and sometimes because we like to. Bye!
Bye.
Screen time.